Talk to me about CBD, THC. It's been marketed for a while separately and together as solutions. What's the truth behind it?
So THC and CBD, I think they've gone through a real evolution. THC, for the most part, I think the data is fairly robust. It's just not going to be your friend when it comes to sleep. It is very clearly helping people fall asleep faster. And I think that's something that we can come back to in a second. The problem with THC, first, is that you build up a tolerance and a dependence on it, a psychological dependence. And what happens is that when you stop using THC for sleep, not only do you go back to the bad sleep that you are having, because of the dependency, you typically have a withdrawal and your sleep is even worse as a consequence. And if you look at the number one reason why people fail in their attempted abstinence from smoking weed, it's because they can't tolerate the insomnia. So they fall off the wagon and they go right back to using again because they've built up both a physiological and a psychological dependence. So that's the first issue, is just the really bad insomnia. And in fact, it's part of the cannabis withdrawal syndrome set of features in what we call the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. It's basically the psychiatrist's handbook. If you look at cannabis withdrawal syndrome, right there at the top is insomnia. And you're just feeding yourself a future future event in your history of insomnia when you try to withdraw, and you typically will go back. The second problem with THC is that it's very potent at blocking your REM sleep again. And we've spoken about REM sleep both as a mortality feature. REM sleep is critical for creativity, learning, and memory. It's also essential for your emotional and mental health. But we often think of dream sleep, it's such an active state that we think of it as purely for the brain. REM sleep is for the body. Men and women both release their peak levels of testosterone when you're in REM sleep. And so REM sleep is essential, but you're depriving yourself of it with THC. And a really good case in point here is that when people stop using THC, when they've been smoking weed, firstly, they'll start to say, I just don't dream, or I don't remember my dreams anymore. Then all of a sudden, when they stop using it, they will say, once again, like that late morning, Saturday morning with the alcohol, they will say, God, I'm just having these crazy dreams now. I never used to dream at all. The reason is because the brain has built up such a chronic debt of absent REM sleep that finally, when you stop smoking weed, it comes back with a vengeance, because you've been trying to sort of get it, but you can't. And the roadblock is finally out the way, and boy, do you start getting REM sleep again. So THC, right now, I just don't think there's good evidence for, although I'll come back to it now in one of the two ways. If you look at some of those studies, though, and you've really got to kind of dig deep into them and look at all of the ancillary, the supplemental materials in the science paper, something funny happened when I was reading the literature. If you looked at, they always classify people's level of sleep apnea in these sleep studies. It's just one of the things that we always measure, just like we measure your brain waves and we measure your sleep apnea. If you look across, when people were dosed experimentally with THC, the sleep apnea started to decrease. And in some of those studies, decreased statistically significantly, which would argue that THC may potentially have something beneficial to say about being at least an adjunct to sleep apnea therapy. Now, I am not going to advocate, based on the downsides that come with THC in terms of your sleep, that it should be used. But nevertheless, you shouldn't throw the baby out with the sleep bathwater here. What is it about THC that is beneficial to reducing the respiratory disturbance associated with sleep apnea? I think we need to figure that out, because there are too many studies where that seems to be an anecdotal result in the data. Now, is it because it prevents the relaxation response of the airways so that they stay more taut and resistant against the collapse? Is it about the release of certain neurochemicals that are there to stimulate the nerves to keep the air? I've got no idea. But I do think it's a really interesting kind of story that's yet to be told.
You might have heard me say that I took my testosterone level from 495 to 1006 last year, and one of the supplements I used throughout that was Tonkat Ali. I first heard Dr. Andrew Huberman talk about the really impressive effects that tons of research was showing, which sounds great until you realize that most supplements don't actually contain what they're advertising. Momentous makes the only NSF-certified Tonkat Ali on the planet, which means it's tested so rigorously that even Olympic athletes can use it, and that is why I partnered with them, because they make the most carefully tested, highest quality supplements on Earth. So, if you're not performing in the gym or the bedroom the way that you would like, or if you just want to improve your testosterone naturally, Tonkat Ali is a fantastic research-backed place to start. Best of all, there is a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can buy it completely risk-free, and if you do not like it for any reason, they will give you your money back. Plus, they ship internationally. Right now, you can get a 20% discount off all their products by going to the link in the description below or heading to livemomentous.com/modernwisdom using the code modernwisdom at checkout. That's livemomentous.com/modernwisdom and modernwisdom at checkout. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip, you will love the full-length, nearly 3-hour-long conversation with Dr. Walker right here. Go on, watch it.